Revealed, Billionaire's incredible disguise in his own restaurant. Waitress's two touching words. Hannah stood at the counter of Mom's place, her heartbeat synchronizing with the clatter of plates and the hum of conversations swirling around her. It was the lunch rush, and her energy seemed endless as she served locals, each smile from them a balm to her weary soul. She watched the sun pour through the windows, warming the faces of her customers, giving this little diner the glow of home. The aroma of her mom's famous chicken pot pie wafted through heated air, wrapping around everyone like a comforting embrace. But behind her warm demeanor, Hannah's life weighed heavy. Each dollar she earned was a tiny tug-of-war against the mounting medical bills for her ailing mother. The same heart that poured love into every shift felt a gnawing worry beneath it all. Yet, Hannah often found strength in simple acts of kindness, even as she battled despair. When an old gentleman would count his quarters for coffee, she'd slip him a slice of pie, whispering, "It's on the house today." In walked Jack, a billionaire disguised in a baseball cap and sunglasses, seeking a reprieve from a world he was tired of. He was drawn to Hannah as bees to flowers, captivated by the kindness in her eyes. He witnessed her brightening the old man's day, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a spark of hope flicker within him. But just then, the phone rang, a shrill sound that sliced through the warmth and chatter of the diner. Hannah picked it up, her face draining of color, heart racing. Her mother had taken a turn for the worse. "I'm fine," she forced out, voice quaking, refusing to let them hear the storm brewing inside her. It was a reflex, an unyielding American spirit to protect those we love, even when we dare not speak our deepest fears. Jack, hidden in his corner booth, saw the immediate shift in the atmosphere. The kindness that had filled the air moments before was now replaced with hushed murmurs of concern amongst the diner's patrons. They leaned in together, whispering support for Hannah as if she was family. They were linked by threads of resilience. Hope sparked and flickered like the neon sign outside the diner. Jack felt an overwhelming tide of empathy wash over him. Was his wealth of any significance next to what Hannah offered? As the annual community fundraiser approached, Jack felt a pull. He began to form a plan. Should he reveal himself? Was there a way to lift this humble community without unraveling the connections he admired? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The fundraiser night came alive with laughter and hope, though an undercurrent of anxiety hung in the air. Jack stepped up to the mic, heart pounding, aware that every eye in the room was on him. He took a deep breath, the chorus of voices fading. Community is more than just shared space, he began, but beneath the bright lights, he hesitated. The question loomed heavy: would he present his true self, or remain hidden, paralyzed by the dread of change? The energy crackled in the room, anticipation palpable. What would happen next? Would he let Hannah's story, her unwavering spirit, spark the change he yearned for, or would he retreat to the shadows once again, leaving them all hanging, searching for answers in the silence of the unknown? As Jack gazed out over the crowd, he felt all eyes on him, each pupil reflecting the soft glow of the fundraiser's fairy lights. He could feel his breaths quickening, like the rhythm of a drumbeat urging him to take action. The small town was packed with familiar faces, all gathered to support Hannah and her mother, each person carrying their own burdens yet willing to lighten another's load. He glanced at Hannah, her brow furrowed with worry, yet her smile still managed to flicker through, like a stubborn candle in the dark. She had no idea who was standing before her, this billionaire cloaked in a baseball cap, hiding not just his money but his own fears about connection and vulnerability. Jack's heart ached with the hope he saw in her eyes, the way she believed in the goodness of the community, even when her world seemed to crumble around her. Maybe I can't change everything, but the words caught in his throat. The pull of his split life, who he was and who he wanted to be, almost crushed him. He didn't want to be just some wealthy guy donating from a distance. He paused, the weight of the moment ripe with tension. The crowd leaned in closer, straining to hear. But what I can do is support those who fight for their dreams. I believe in this town. A small cheer erupted, and the energy surged back into the room. But Jack wasn't done. He searched for the words that would bridge the gap, the raw truth he feared sharing. I've learned that real wealth isn't about the money you have but the lives you touch. He felt a ripple of murmurs and nods, a collective understanding building in the room. Yet even as he stood there, adrenaline coursing through him, he wondered, was he ready to lay himself bare? Was revealing his identity the key to truly helping? A flash of a smile danced across Hannah's lips from the back of the room. It ignited something within him. Would she really accept him if she knew who he was? Or would the truth shatter the connection they had begun to forge, as tenuous as it was? He could no longer hide away, not when everything hung in the balance. I want to give tonight. The words spilled out before he could stop them. To the fundraiser, all proceeds will go towards medical costs for anyone struggling in our community. I know it doesn't erase heartache, but it's a start. He saw gasps of surprise and felt the thrum of energy shift among the patrons. Jack took a step back, his soul worn but his heart racing with newfound purpose. The applause thundered, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. He glanced at Hannah again, and there it was, that flicker of hope shining even brighter. But as the din died down, the reality of his decision washed over him. He was still hiding. What would it take to truly step into the light? Would revealing his identity bring Hannah the solace she desperately needed, or would it unravel the beauty of her stubborn hope? The uncertainty weighed on him as he scanned the crowd, looking for answers in their hopeful eyes. His heart began to race again. Could he face his truth? And as silence fell softly over the room again, Jack took another deep breath, ready to delve deeper into the night, but still tethered by the looming question. What would happen when Hannah discovered who he really was? The applause faded into a gentle buzz as Jack stepped back, his heart pounding like a drum signaling a new beginning. He felt the warmth of the crowd, it clung to him, enveloping him in a sense of solidarity he hadn't expected. But the thrill carried an undercurrent of uncertainty, a tether pulling at his psyche as he caught another glimpse of Hannah. She was talking animatedly with someone, her hands animatedly illustrating her words, the worry in her brow momentarily forgotten. But beneath that vibrant facade, something deep within Jack twisted. He'd just made a promise with immeasurable stakes, yet he stood at the precipice of revealing a truth that could change everything. Jack cleared his throat, his mind racing with thoughts of how to turn this momentum into real change. He was filled with a surge of confidence mingled with a knot of fear. Could he find a way to communicate his genuine intentions without shattering the fragile world Hannah inhabited? "All right, folks," he called out, trying to anchor himself back in the moment. "Let's auction off some unique items, shall we?" He saw faces brighten at the interruption, eager for hope wrapped in the thrill of bidding. But as Jack glanced at the items, a signed baseball, a beautiful quilt made by the town's oldest resident, and a gift certificate to his own restaurant, his heart sank just a little more. They represented not only the spirit of community but what Jack hadn't fully put on display himself. As the auction kicked off, Jack's eyes kept darting to Hannah. Each time he caught her eye, that spark of hope flickered even brighter. He could see the realization in her expression as she gently clapped for items that spurred collective laughter and camaraderie. But he feared each clap, each smile, pulled him deeper into a connection he still hadn't fully allowed himself to embrace. Midway through the auction, an elderly man took the stage, just a mere whisper in the community's tapestry. He spoke of Hannah's mother, of the love threaded through their small town, a love that pulled together even amidst struggles. "This is what we fight for," he announced. "And sometimes it takes a little push, even from unexpected places." Unexpected places. The man's words echoed through Jack, stirring something that had been dormant in him for far too long. When the final auction item, a dinner for two at Jack's restaurant, went for a dizzying amount, he felt an electric surge of energy ripple through the crowd. They were united in purpose, in hope. But as the cheers erupted, Jack's chest tightened. Could he, from behind his carefully constructed wall, be a part of their unity? Applause rang through the air again, and the energy shifted, prompting Jack to feel an urgency boiling inside him. The room simmered with a warmth he was desperate to belong to. Yet he could feel the weight of his secret, his truth, like a beast resting in the shadow. Hannah caught his gaze. "You're doing amazing," she mouthed, her sincerity washing over him. For a moment, it felt as though the walls between them dissolved, but the undertow of fear surged back. How could he ever convey the battle inside him? The slice of doubt twisted deeper. What if she learned the truth in the wrong way? The night was winding down, and Jack knew he had a choice to make. Would revealing who he was bring even more hope, or would it darken the light that Hannah seemed to emanate? As applause reverberated around him, Jack leaned in closer to the microphone, heart pounding like a wild drum. The words were breaking through. "I have something important to say," but before he could finish, the crowd turned, a new sound cutting through the excitement. The hushed whispers morphed into gasps. Jack's breath caught as he turned to see a tall figure step through the doorway, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, scanning the room. Everything inside Jack froze. Who was this person, and what did they want? Did they even know the truth he was harboring, or was this moment going to change everything he had just begun to build? The air thickened with anticipation, pushing Jack toward a cliff he felt too afraid to jump from. The crowd shifted, their excitement morphing into a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Jack's heart raced while the newcomer, a man with striking features and an air of command, stepped into the room like a film star arriving on set. An immediate hush fell over the gathering, whispers weaving through the space like an electric current. "Who is that?" Hannah breathed, her eyes wide, as she turned to Jack. He could feel the heavy weight of her expectation hanging between them, a fragile bridge that either could break. Jack's mind felt clouded. He had been ready to make his confession, to finally share the part of himself he had kept locked away. But now, faced with this stranger, he felt the hard edges of his resolve begin to fray. I don't know," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. The man continued to scan the crowd, his eyes sweeping over every face before landing on Jack. For a moment it was as if time stood still, the space between them charged with unspoken history. Then, the stranger straightened, a confident smile spreading across his face. "Jack Turner," he called out, his voice deep and compelling. "I think it's time we had a chat." The crowd stirred, their palpable interest feeding into Jack's mounting dread. "You know him?" Hannah asked, glancing from Jack to the stranger and back again, as if trying to puzzle together a riddle that made no sense. "We've never met," Jack replied, his throat tightening. "But he knows me. I think." "Jack, what is going on?" Hannah pressed, her voice laced with concern. He could see the shadows of doubt dance across her features. Before he could answer, the suit-clad figure stepped closer, cutting through the crowd with a purpose that made people move aside as if he were royalty. He flashed an almost predatory smile, compelling yet unnerving. "This is a lovely gathering you have here, Jack," he remarked, his tone smooth yet incisive. "Quite the achievement." "Thank you," Jack said, trying to hold ground. "But if you don't mind," the man laughed lightly, dismissing Jack's discomfort. "But you see, you've stirred quite the interest in your little venture. Your restaurant, this auction, it all seems so endearing. I can't help but think of the stories you've kept hidden. Ones that need to be told." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. The way this stranger spoke felt both knowing and dangerous, like an unwelcome storm approaching. "Look," Jack said, channeling all his frustration and fear into his voice. "I don't know what you think you know, but I'm not. Let's drop the act, shall we?" The man's smile faded, revealing a more hardened demeanor. The town has its tales, Jack, and I've got a vested interest in your story. A particular interest in you. The room buzzed with questions. Jack felt exposed, as if every part of him were laid bare for scrutiny by the crowd now deeply engaged in the unfolding drama. Hannah's expression flickered with uncertainty, her earlier admiration replaced with confusion. Jack, she said softly, as if his name were a lifeline. I need to take care of this, he said, unable to meet her gaze. I need a moment. Jack, wait. Hannah reached for him, fingers brushing against his arm. But he tore himself away, stepping toward the front of the room. The chatter escalated, each second stretching longer than the last. The stranger's sharp eyes remained pinned on him, like a hunter observing its prey. Jack's thoughts raced. This man could unravel everything he had just begun to build. Would voicing his truth matter? Would it even mean anything if the past came crashing back, eclipsing all the hope he had drawn from this night? As Jack squared his shoulders, preparing for a confrontation he never wanted, he knew he was standing at another precipice. The choice between silence or revelation loomed in front of him, an agonizing decision that could alter the course of everything he held dear. Jack. Hannah's voice sliced through the tension. You don't have to face this alone. Please, but his resolve hardened. It was time to confront the storm within. Would bravery lead him to the light? Or drag him into darkness? In that moment of frozen clarity, he made his choice, ready or not. Jack took a deep breath, the air thick with unspoken words and the weight of fear. He could feel the eyes of the crowd boring into the back of his skull, their anticipation a tangible force. The stranger stood before him, unyielding, like a statue waiting for its rightful moment. What do you want? Jack asked, his voice steadier than he felt. He could see a flicker of surprise in the man's eyes. It was as if Jack had crossed an invisible line, daring to challenge the authority that loomed over him. Oh, Jack, the man replied, his tone a mix of amusement and condescension. You're the one with the secrets. I'm merely here to help you uncover them. The question is, do you really want that? The murmur of the crowd grew louder, the energy swirling like a gale-force wind. Hannah stepped closer, her expression a mix of worry and support, but Jack had to focus. He felt like a deer caught in headlights, paralyzed yet desperate to move. I've built something here, he said, gesturing vaguely at the gathered patrons who were now all eyes on him. I want to let you ruin it. The man chuckled softly, shaking his head. Ruin? Oh no, Jack. I'm here to expose. Your patrons deserve the truth. All those smiles, the warm atmosphere, it's all a mask, isn't it? Anger boiled beneath Jack's skin. How dare this man assume he understood him? The vulnerability of his journey, the late nights spent cooking, the struggles of starting anew, none of it was calamitous, it was prideful, and he would protect it. I'm not ashamed of my past, Jack countered, his heart thumping loudly. And I'm not about to let you drag it into this room. But Jack, the man persisted, his voice dropping to an almost conspiratorial whisper. What if I told you that your past is connected to something much bigger? What if I told you that I know things about your family? About your father? Secrets he took to the grave. The crowd seemed to inhale sharply at the mention of his father. Jack's breath caught in his throat. It felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Memories rushed forward, his father's closed-off nature, the unanswered questions, the shadows of unspoken truths that had haunted him for years. What do you know? Jack breathed, his composure slipping. The man stepped closer, the crowd parting like water for a ship. Enough to know that you're standing under a very heavy cloud, he replied, his eyes glinting with an unsettling challenge. But the question is, are you ready to lift that cloud? Silence enveloped the room, thick and foreboding. Jack searched for answers in the faces surrounding him. Hannah's worried gaze pierced through the murk, urging him to choose wisely. I have to think, he said finally, though his heart raced with instinctual dread. The stranger tilted his head ever so slightly, a predator assessing its prey. Time is not on your side, Jack. You don't have the luxury of thought. The past has a way of catching up when you least expect it. Jack's heart raced, torn between the desire to protect what he loved and the curiosity gnawing at him like a hungry wolf. He could feel the pressure mounting inside him, could sense the undeniable truth lurking in the man's words. Tonight was supposed to be my chance, he said, half stating it to himself. To start fresh. Then let us make it a night worth remembering. The stranger met his gaze directly, eyes unblinking. Give me a chance to help you see what you've been missing. Jack's hands trembled by his sides, uncertainty stirring in his chest. Could facing the past really lead to something better? What if it shattered everything he had built? Jack Hannah murmured, a faint plea wrapped in an undeniable worry. He looked at her, his heart aching. What if the truth did expose him? What if opening this door only led to more pain? Will you join me at the table? The stranger posed, an invitation that felt like a gamble. Or will you let the past keep you prisoner? In the thrill of the moment, Jack felt himself standing at yet another cliff. Would he step forward or retreat? As all eyes remained fixed on him, Jack felt the heat of decision burning in his chest. The clock was ticking, and with every beat, the decision felt heavier. What would he choose? Would he step into the unknown or cling to the familiar? The air waited with expectancy. Jack realized he was ready for one more step, a step he never anticipated. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he held the stranger's gaze, the intensity of the moment folding around him like a blanket. The weight of the crowd's expectations pressed on him, and he could sense the sharp breath of Hannah beside him, a tether to the life he had fought so hard to build. He felt like a soldier at the brink of battle, knowing that every choice he made could lead to victory or loss. The stranger's offer was tantalizing, a glimpse into a darkened world he'd only just begun to understand. Could it truly be worth the risk? I don't even know you, Jack finally said, his voice low but steady. How can I trust you? Trust is a fragile thing, isn't it? The man replied smoothly, his smile enigmatic. But I assure you, we have more in common than you think. Your father, the secrets they run deeper than you can imagine. If you want to unlock the truth, you'll have to take a leap of faith. A flicker of doubt crossed Jack's mind. Was he really prepared for this? He had spent years avoiding the ghosts of his past, locking them away like keepsakes he could never bring himself to discard. The thought of confronting them, of exposing the truth, made him feel raw and vulnerable. But then he remembered the longing he had carried for so long. The questions that burned within him like a steady flame. Why had his father kept secrets? What was so dangerous that it had to be buried? Jack glanced at Hannah again, her dark eyes glistened with concern, but also with encouragement. She believed in him, even when he struggled to believe in himself. I have to know, Jack whispered, almost to himself. The stranger's expression shifted, a flicker of satisfaction dancing across his face. Then let us find a place to talk, shall we? Somewhere away from prying eyes. Without waiting for a response, he turned and started walking, confident and collected. Jack hesitated only for a moment before following. The crowd parted for them, their murmurs fading into the background as he stepped into the unknown. As they moved through the restaurant, Jack kept his distance from the man. Each step felt like an admission, like he was willingly stepping into a trap. He glanced back at Hannah. She looked uncertain, fear creeping into her features like an unwanted shadow. Jack! Be careful! She called softly, her voice a lifeline in the swirling chaos. He nodded and tried to convey strength through a reassuring smile, but inside, he felt the tide of panic rising. What if this was a mistake? They reached a dimly lit corner of the restaurant, a secluded booth shielded from the bustling energy outside. As they sat, the man's demeanor shifted. He leaned forward, elbows resting on the table, eyes locked onto Jack with an intensity that made his skin crawl. You think your life is ordinary, Jack, but it's anything but. Your father lived a life wrapped in dark truths. I know about the deals he made, the enemies he built, and the reason you've been kept in the dark. Jack's breath hitched. What do you mean? The man smiled, a knowing look passing over his face. I mean, you're part of a story larger than just the cook or the restaurant owner. You've got a legacy waiting for you, Jack. One that can change everything. Jack's mind was racing. Change what? My past? My future? The stranger nodded, a glint of excitement in his eyes. You can unlock your potential. The question is, are you ready to embrace it? A forceful chill swept through the booth, and Jack felt as if he were teetering on the edge of a cliff once again. Would he plunge into the depths of his family's buried secrets or retreat back to the safety of the familiar? He swallowed hard, trying to wrap his mind around the possibilities. What lay beneath the surface of his past? What did he really want to uncover? The stranger leaned back, clearly waiting for an answer that felt monumental. Jack scanned the dim light of their booth, every shadow whispering doubts. Could he really step into this life he barely understood? Tell me everything, he said, thrusting himself forward in desperation. Leave nothing out. The stranger's smile widened, a predator ready to feast on Jack's resolve. Very well. Let us start with your father's last days and the fortune he never wanted you to touch. Jack's heart raced with fear and thrill. But what secrets awaited him, and could he handle the truth when it came crashing down? As the strange man began to speak, a sense of dread washed over him, knowing that once the truth was laid bare, there would be no going back. The moment those words fell from the stranger's lips, the air grew thick with anticipation. Jack leaned in, desperate for answers yet terrified of what they might reveal. The shadows in the booth sprawled around him like dark arms, whispering tales he wasn't ready to hear. Your father's last days were filled with desperation, the man continued, his voice a low, seductive murmur. He made choices, Jack, choices driven by fear and loyalty. You were kept away from this world for your own protection, but the truth is, it was more complicated than that. Jack's mind raced. Protection from what? A world of criminals? Debts unpaid? The boy inside him, the one who had always felt second best, was pushing to break free. Why didn't he trust me? Jack's voice trembled, the raw edge of his emotions surfacing. Because he loved you too much. There were people who would have exploited your innocence for their gain. He thought keeping you away would keep you safe, the stranger explained, his gaze penetrating Jack's shield of bravado. But I'm not a child anymore. Jack's voice erupted louder than he intended, catching the attention of a couple at the next table. I deserve to know. The stranger watched him, a spark of intrigue in his eyes. You're right. You deserve the truth. His gaze fell to the table briefly before lifting back to meet Jack's. Your father was part of an elite world of power players, a world not just filled with wealth, but dark alliances. He was in deep, Jack. Too deep. Beneath the table, Jack's fists clenched. What do you mean, dark alliances? What did it cost him? There are debts, both financial and of life, the stranger said, his voice dropping. He made a choice at the last minute, a choice that involved you. A fortune one built on secrets and perhaps blood was to be yours. But then tragedy struck. He wanted to protect you from that. A jolt of adrenaline shot through Jack. Tragedy? What happened? And what do you mean by blood? The stranger paused, collecting his thoughts as if weighing the impact of each word on Jack's fragile psyche. He negotiated for your safety, and in doing so, he crossed some powerful individuals. When he tried to pull away, they didn't like that. They wanted something he refused to give. It cost him everything. The implications hung between them like a storm cloud heavy with rain. Jack's heart thundered in his chest. The bright life he led suddenly felt murky and tangled, rooted in shadows he had never been told about. "I can't believe this," Jack said, disbelief climbing over him like ivy. "This is too much. Sometimes the truth feels like too much. But it can also empower," the stranger replied. "Would you rather live in ignorance? Too many people, including your father, have suffered for these secrets. You can choose a different path." Suddenly, a memory flickered in Jack's mind, his father's eyes, holding a frightful weight, shadows of conversations he'd overheard as a child. The way he would start to speak about the family fortune, only to break off suddenly, as if fearing even the air around them. "Do you want to break the cycle?" The stranger's voice pulled Jack back into the present. "You have power now more than you realize. The question is, what will you do with it once you know?" Jack looked deep within himself. He was standing at a crossroads. What if this knowledge could empower him? What if it could rewrite his entire story? But at what cost? Would the shadows of his father's world swallow him whole, or could he possibly emerge stronger from it? I need time to think," Jack finally said. His heart screamed for answers, but his mind thrashed against the weight of the unknown. "Time is a luxury you may not have," the man replied, leaning forward. "Once this door is opened, you may not be able to close it." Jack felt the pressure rise, the weight of time pressing on his shoulders, crushing him. He locked eyes with the stranger. "What happens next?" The smile that spread across the stranger's face felt predatory. "Your journey has only just begun, Jack. And trust me, it will be one that tests every fiber of your being." Jack's breath caught. What lay ahead? And could he truly endure whatever was coming his way? As uncertainty gripped him, he felt the churning depths of both fear and curiosity intertwining. Suddenly, he wondered if discovering the truth was a step toward freedom, or a descent into a darkness he couldn't escape. The weight of the stranger's words lingered in the air, swirling around Jack like a dark mist. He felt exposed, as if the very foundation of his life had been shaken loose, revealing a chasm of secrets beneath. Just as he was about to protest again to deny the truths already gnawing at his insides, his phone buzzed violently against the table, jarring him back to reality. Looking at the screen, Jack saw a name that sent a pulse of anxiety through him: his mother. Her face flashed in his mind, comforting and familiar, yet marked by years of tension and silence. With trembling hands, he answered, "Hey, Mom. Jack. I need you to come home. It's urgent." Her voice was sharp, filled with unfamiliar urgency that set off alarm bells in his head. "Home? Right now?" He shot a glance at the stranger, whose enigmatic smile now seemed more sinister. Jack's gut twisted. "Can't it wait? I'm in the middle of something, please, Jack." "It can't wait." The crack in her voice felt like a crack in his very being. "I don't want to do this over the phone. Just get here." The line went silent, and Jack felt the weight of his mother's words settle in his stomach like a stone. There was something about her tone that told him this was connected to everything he was learning. An impulse to flee surged through him, but it quickly gave way to resolve. He couldn't hide forever. This was all part of the truth he craved. "I'll be there," he finally replied, a sense of finality crashing over him like a wave. He hung up, turning back to face the stranger. "What do you know about my mother?" The stranger leaned back, a hint of amusement playing across his lips. "More than you think, Jack. But now isn't the time to discuss her. You have your own path to uncover." "I don't have time for cryptic games," Jack snapped, desperation lacing his voice. "I need answers. Now." "Fine," the man said, seeming to weigh his options. "But understand this, the answers might not bring you peace. They may leave you with more questions than before." Jack took a deep breath. "I'm ready for that. Just tell me what I need to know." With a nod, the stranger leaned in closer, lowering his voice further. Your father's enemies are not just distant shadows. They are very much alive, and they are watching, Jack. The world you step into might cost you more than you bargained for. But there's a chance to reclaim what was stolen from your family. However, it won't be easy, and possibilities loom large, such as knowing if your mother is one of those pawns. He paused, letting the implications sink in. Jack's heart raced. His mother, the only anchor he had left, might be enmeshed in this darker world. A new fear gripped him, but he couldn't back down now. What do I do? Jack's voice was quieter but resolute, a whisper of a boy who wasn't ready to be swallowed whole by the darkness ahead. Go home. Talk to her. Then, you decide how deep you want to go. Just remember, Jack, knowledge is power, but it comes at a cost. As Jack stood to leave, adrenaline coursed through him. He felt a surge of courage battling against the echoes of uncertainty. The idea of pursuing this truth was daunting, but staying in ignorance felt even more terrifying. His heart thudded in sync with each step toward the door. Would he really find what he was looking for? Or would this drive him deeper into shadows? Suddenly, a wave of determination washed over him. He would confront whatever lay ahead. And as he reached the exit, he cast one last glance back at the stranger, whose satisfied smile haunted him. Jack knew his journey was just beginning, and the fight to reclaim his father's legacy and protect his mother was more urgent than ever. But he couldn't shake the ominous feeling that he was already too late. What awaited him at home might shape the course of everything he thought he knew about his family and himself. Jack pulled himself back into reality as he stepped out of the bar, the door swinging shut behind him with a heavy thud. The bustling street was an unbearable contrast to the dark revelations he had just faced. Noise and chatter surrounded him, making his heart race with urgency. He had to get home, to his mother, and whatever truths lay waiting there, like a shadow stalking him through the night. The ride home felt like it took forever. Each stoplight stretched out interminably, each tick of the clock in his mind counting the seconds until dread settled deeper into his bones. What could have gone wrong? Why did she sound so frightened? The stranger's words replayed in his head, intertwining with his mother's voice. He felt the weight of his family's past pressing down on him, constricting his breathing. Finally, he pulled into his driveway. The house loomed before him, familiar yet threatening in the encroaching darkness. Jack stood for a moment, imagining the warmth that usually radiated from within. But now, all he felt was cold uncertainty. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside. The first thing he noticed was the silence. Not the cozy quiet that he loved, but a heavy, oppressive hush that hung in the air like a storm cloud. His heart pounded as he called out, "Mom?" In the kitchen, she replied, her voice shaky but barely audible. Jack moved through the hall, his footsteps echoing like a warning. The kitchen door was ajar, and he pushed it open. His mother was at the table, her hands trembling over the surface as though she were holding onto it for dear life. The sight of her, pale and shaken, sent a bolt of fear through him. "Mom?" he said, moving closer. "What is going on? Why did you call me home?" She looked up, her eyes rimmed with red, and Jack's heart sank. He had never seen her like this, completely unguarded and vulnerable. "Jack, there are things I didn't tell you, things about your father." Her voice trembled as she spoke, faltering under the weight of her own words. Tension swelled between them, unspoken and cutting like barbed wire. "Mom, please. I need you to tell me everything. I can handle it." He took her hands, his palms warm against her cool skin. "I have to know. Your father wasn't just a businessman, Jack. He was involved in a world we kept hidden from you to protect you. But now..." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Now it's catching up to us." Jack squeezed her hands tighter, trying to anchor them both in the chaos swirling around them. "What does that mean for us?" For you? A shadow crossed her face, and she looked away, staring into the abyss of their shared silence. Your father made enemies, real ones. They want answers, and they'll come for those closest to him. She inhaled shakily, meeting his gaze again. They might come for you. No, Jack replied, adrenaline surging through him. Not if I can help it. But we need to figure out what to do. The reality of their situation set in like cold steel against his skin. But what if it's already too late? His voice wavered, just above a whisper. His mother's expression shifted from fear to a fierce determination. Then we fight back. Together. Jack felt a surge of hope mixed with fear. If they waded deeper into this world, the truth might set them free or entangle them forever. But just as he opened his mouth to respond, the doorbell rang. The sound echoed, jarring against the fragile moment they'd just created. Who could that be? Every instinct screamed for caution. Jack turned to his mother, her wide eyes mirrored the tension coursing through him. Stay back, he warned, edging toward the door. Should he open it? Who was waiting outside? The unanswered questions hung thick in the air, a tapestry of uncertainty woven tighter with every heartbeat. Jack pushed down the sudden dread rising in his throat. It was only the beginning, he realized. Whatever lay on the other side of that door could change everything, and he was finally ready to find out. Jack's heart pounded like a drum as he approached the door, adrenaline racing through his veins. The doorbell chimed again, sharp and insistent. With each passing second, the tension in the air thickened, wrapping around him like fog. He glanced back at his mother. She was rigid, eyes wide, her hands trembling yet set in fierce resolve. Stay back, he whispered, but he could see in her eyes that she felt a similar mix of dread and necessity. This felt like the moment that would redefine everything. He took a deep breath, then steadied himself before grabbing the doorknob. Turning it slowly felt like an eternity, a portal leading him into the unknown. With a swift motion, he jerked it open, bracing himself for whoever or whatever was waiting on the other side. Standing before him was a tall, stern-looking woman dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, her expression a blend of concern and urgency. Jack Turner? She asked, her voice steady as steel. A knot of apprehension twisted in his stomach. Who are you? I'm Morgan. I represent some important interests regarding your father. She scanned the entryway, her demeanor suggesting something both professional and disconcerting. There are matters that need to be discussed. He exchanged a quick glance with his mother. She was stepping forward, defiance growing. What is going on? Her voice held a sharp edge. My family's already been through enough. Morgan's expression softened slightly. That's why I'm here. I know the implications of his past, and it's vital we address them immediately. Jack felt an unsettling familiarity in her words, the echo of secrets he was only just beginning to grasp. What do you mean by implications? He asked, his voice tightening with resolve. The people your father was involved with are dangerous. They won't rest until their interests are protected. Morgan paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. You have options, but I need your trust. Jack swallowed hard, remembering the stranger from the fundraiser, the one who had brushed the shadows of his father's past across his life. Everything was converging, and he desperately needed clarity. What can you tell me that I don't already know? In a world built on alliances and violence, information is as good as currency, Morgan replied bluntly. Some truths are not just buried, they threaten to unravel everything. Your father made powerful enemies, and it's possible they've come back for you now. Jack felt his chest tighten. The dread he had harbored grew heavier now as the walls of despair he had carefully constructed began to crack. What do you propose? Morgan's gaze sharpened, revealing a flicker of ambition. We find out what they want and counteract it. But for that, I need your father's files, the ones he hid from you. It's not safe for you to remain ignorant. With each word, the weight of the moment intensified. My father was trying to protect us, Jack argued, but the doubt in his heart nestled in. What if this path leads to destruction? It might, she replied candidly. But ignorance could lead to worse. Think about your mother. They won't hesitate to target her as well. If we work together, we can uncover the truth and forge a way through this darkness. Jack looked at his mother. Her eyes were filled with fear but also that fierceness he'd seen earlier. She wanted to fight, just as much as he did. What's it going to take? He said finally, sensing the shift within himself. The pause hung thick as Morgan considered him. Courage and commitment. You can't waver now. If you choose to step into this fight, you'll need to do it together. Otherwise, you'll be vulnerable. The choice was monumental. Every instinct screamed for him to turn back, to retreat to the safety of ignorance, yet he couldn't. Not anymore. We'll do it, Jack declared, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. Morgan nodded, an approving smile barely touching her lips. Let us gather what we need, then. As he ushered her in, scrambling to prepare for this new alliance, Jack felt a surge of power bloom in his chest. It was time to step from the shadows, together with his mother, into a world marked by their father's legacy. They needed to uncover the truth before it consumed them, and for the first time in a long while, Jack felt a flicker of hope shining bright amidst the impending storm. They would fight, not just for survival, but for the family he had long wanted to understand. Standing beside his mother, Jack knew they were ready to break free from the chains of the past. Through every uncertainty, they would face the darkness ahead, side by side. Let us begin, he said, his voice stronger now. As they gathered their strength, the timeline shifted, and he felt a sense of purpose igniting within him. The past may have loomed heavy and threatening, but it no longer dictated their future. Together, they would reclaim their story. The journey ahead was filled with challenges, but Jack felt ready. They would face whatever lay in the shadows, no longer afraid. They were a family, willing to confront anything. And step by step, they would turn their pain into power. Now was their moment. If you're feeling inspired by Jack and his family's journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Don't hesitate, leave a like now and help feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.